It all hinges on sales. The Millennium development is in receivership. So what does that mean for Vancouver taxpayers? Deb has the details in tonight's Insight. Deb?
And that is a good question, Chris.
It is. A lot of people wondering.
But, you know, it could be years before the city of Vancouver learns if it will ever get back all the money it sank into the former Athletes' Village in Falls Creek. It was announced the Millennium development had gone into receivership after the company was unable to make payments on the city's billion-dollar loan. There are calls for patience, but there are also plenty of questions about how we got to this point. Here's Ron Benzie.
It's billed as the largest development ever undertaken by the city, but now the former Athletes' Village is also becoming the city's largest financial gamble. After being forced to bankroll the project last year, the city is now the official owner after its developer failed to meet its loan obligations and forced into receivership.
People at the city and others in the industry had acknowledged that really for about the last year and a half, this development was in what we often refer to as a soft receivership. The city was paying all the bills, the city was really directing what was going on, and so to that extent, this was not a surprise.
The massive development proved to be a challenge almost from the beginning. 3 months before the project was scheduled to be handed over to VANOC, construction workers were still scrambling to get the project done on time, with cost overruns already estimated at $100 million.
We're on track to produce a very good project here, and I think the people will be proud of it. The financial arrangements are a different issue, but we've got that under control.
But the financial clouds started gathering over the project early last year when the developer's former lender, New York-based Fortress Financial, cut off funding, forcing the city in February of 2009 to take over financing and suddenly becoming banker. With Millennium unable to meet its payments, the city is now owed $740 million. The numbers break down like this. There's the city's original construction loan to Millennium of $756 million. There's the loan for the land of $200 million. Since September, $10 million in accumulated interest. Subtract from that a $29 million deposit on the land and the $197 million Millennium did manage to pay back, and the total net owing is $740 million.
But the reality is it's not fair to blame any one political administration. Larry Campbell's administration made mistakes, Sam Sullivan's administration made mistakes, and the current administration has made mistakes. Everybody, I think, should share in some sense of responsibility. Now the question is, what's the right thing to do?
Of the 737 market suites, more than 450 of them remain unsold. Sales staff are scheduled to meet with the receiver this weekend to formalize a new marketing plan that isn't expected to be implemented before February.
So, where exactly does that leave Vancouver taxpayers and their $740 million? Let's just say they shouldn't hold their breath. Officials are confident that Millennium Water will eventually become a vibrant community. But critics say the latest developments still leave the taxpayers vulnerable. Romina Dea has more on that.
1 month ago, the developers behind the billion-dollar Olympic Village, Peter and Shram Malik, made a promise to taxpayers.
The taxpayer has to be paid back fully before we make any profits or before we even get our money back.
Is that a guarantee?
That is something that we are striving towards.
The brothers have now cut a deal with the city. The Maliks walk away from their debt. The city takes control of the project. Taxpayers are still owed $740 million. The city will have to recoup the cash through the sale of 480 condos and several of Millennium's assets, which were offered as a guarantee in the original deal.
The city has secured Millennium's assets, and we're still finalizing the details and the value of those assets. That'll be worked out over the next few weeks, but that means that the assets of that company are basically transferred over to the city as part of the way they pay back the loan, because the sales of the village alone may not make up all of the loan balance.
Taxpayers question why Millennium wasn't able to pay. The company's current projects include the Evelyn, a multi-million-dollar condo complex in West Vancouver, and the Alexandra, a luxury set of homes under construction near English Bay. The Maliks, whose wealthy family came to Canada from Iran in the 1970s, have built a development empire, not only across the Lower Mainland, but in other parts of Canada and Europe. But business experts say the impressive resume doesn't necessarily mean the city's making its money back.
We have no idea what the actual equity value of those assets is, right? So there are these assets. You have to figure out the market value. They probably have other mortgages on them that have a claim on those assets before the city. So, you know, what the city actually holds in value, I don't think anyone, even the city, knows.
A big part of this deal is the fact that neither side can sue each other. We've been trying to get a hold of the Malik brothers to get their take on this mess, but no one from Millennium has returned our calls. The brothers signed a non-disclosure agreement, which means the taxpayer will probably never know the full details.
As an interim step, this is a really good step, right? So this is better than most of the alternatives, which involved wrangling and court cases and bankruptcy and things that would only make it harder to sell units.
Short of real estate prices rising substantially, it is probably going to be a tough road ahead for the city and for taxpayers, Chris.
All right. Thanks very much, Deb.